Hi, this is Ellen Brock, editor at Keytop Inc. This video is going to be about how to write a great middle grade novel. And if you're not sure what a middle grade novel is, you can look at my other video, which is what is the difference between a middle grade and a young adult, and that should clear up any confusion that you have. So the first thing that makes a great middle grade novel is a really strong main character. Kids at this age are reading for character. What's really going to bring them into the story is a kid that they can relate to, somebody especially who has a sense of humor or a sense of adventure, and a child who acts really independent. You want your main character to be able to handle situations on their own and not have to rely on adults for more than maybe a little bit of guidance or a little bit of information. But you really want to push adults out of the story as much as possible. You don't want the adults driving the story or making decisions for the kids. The kids are the ones who have to be making the decision to push the plot. So any adult characters that you have should really be peripheral and shouldn't have too much of an effect on solving the problems that arise in the story. And ideally, it's a good idea to sort of push the parents to the sidelines, either have them be at work, have the kids be on vacation, like a summer vacation away from their parents or at summer camp maybe, or have the conflict occur at a school. There are a lot of ways that you can sort of get rid of the parents, and a lot of people choose to have the parents be dead, to have the children be orphans, and some people will say that publishers are tired of this. I haven't really seen that to be the case. I think it's pretty consistent in middle grade. But if you want to go a slightly more unique route, there are definitely other ways to push the parents away so that the child can act on their own. Another thing to keep in mind with adult characters is that they should never have a point of view. There are very, very, very few middle grade novels that successfully use an adult's point of view. And when I'm talking about point of view here, I'm talking about third limited point of view, where you might have chapters, you might have a chapter in one character's perspective and then a chapter in a different character's perspective. You really don't want to go into the adult perspective. That would be a very, very hard sell. There are a few books out there that do this and a few modern books out there that do this, but they're books that were written by authors who have already been published and who will already sell well because they have a big name. One mistake that's common in middle grade is to write down because you're writing to children, but you really don't want to do that. Kids at this age are smart. You don't need to use simple words, and you don't really need to be concerned at all about vocabulary choice. These kids should be able to pick up new vocabulary fairly easily. These kids shouldn't have any problem at this point understanding the normal type language that adults would use. So just keep in mind that these are not training books. These are kids who already know how to read and can read well, can sound out new words, and aren't going to have any difficulty understanding most word choices. Another mistake that's really common in middle grade is to keep the stakes low, because I think the logic is that they're children, so you don't want to scare them and you don't want the stakes to be too high, but that's really not the case. So don't be afraid to put risk into your book. The stakes should be just as high as they would be in an adult book, and that doesn't mean that the stakes have to be death to the child or death to someone around the child, though they could be, and that's certainly appropriate and is in no way too extreme for middle grade. It's all about how you handle the subject matter. So it doesn't have to be that level of intensity. It could be something like fear of rejection from friends or fear of failing a class, but make sure that the stakes are really high. The stakes need to be more than just, I don't want to get a bad grade in this class. It has to go beyond that. If I get a bad grade in this class, then X will happen. You want the stakes to feel real to the readers so that the readers really understand why this matters to the character, why the character is so concerned about having this particular outcome. What's really vital in creating a great middle grade novel is that your characters need to sound like real kids. And this can be a problem for a lot of writers, especially if they haven't been a child in a long time or if they don't have any children of their own or any relatives. Slang and things like that are always changing, and middle grade novels can feel outdated really fast. So you need to make sure that you're listening to how kids talk, or maybe watching shows that are appropriate for the age group you want to write for. You definitely don't want to give your characters a voice that sounds stuffy or overly formal or a voice that doesn't use contractions, that uses words that don't make sense for their age group, words that are too big. Not that the kids won't understand it, but because it won't sound like it's coming from a child. So make sure that your dialogue sounds natural. And if you're not sure if it sounds natural or not, you can always try to find a child around the age that you're writing for to read the book or to read the dialogue and give you feedback. Kids are pretty good about letting you know what they like and don't like, so this might be the best way to really get a sense of whether or not you're on the right track. When creating the plot of your middle grade novel, you're going to want to keep it fairly straightforward. It's best in middle grade to tell a linear story from beginning to end, not skipping around in time, not changing perspectives too often, and not really having any side plots. It's best to avoid side plots in middle grade because kids might have a harder time keeping track of multiple storylines. And also you have a much shorter space to tell your story than you do in an adult novel. Middle grade novels should only run about 20,000-25,000 words to 40,000-45,000 words, and that's just not a lot of space. So it's really plenty to tell one story and not put in any side plots. So that's my advice for how to write a great middle grade novel. If you have any more questions, or if you feel like I didn't adequately cover the topic, just send me an email and I'd be happy to provide more answers for you. Or if you need any editing services or have any editing questions, you can contact me for that too. And I'll put my email and my website at the end of the video. Thanks for watching.